She shouldn't be allowed to run.
Now, as someone who is literally an original burner, do you think people who are on the fence, who are Bernie Sanders supporters who are on the fence about supporting Hillary Clinton, who are having a really tough time pulling that lever tomorrow, do you think they would be helped by going to a Donald Trump rally, and why?
Well, I was live streaming it to my page, which it's called Say Main Street, was called We Want Bernie Sanders. It has 340,000 people. Many of them are undecided or are saying they're going to vote for Jill Stein. And I think they got scared watching the live stream. And so, yeah, I think, once they see the reality that this is a completely different kind of America that we're talking about, that isn't about solutions, but finding someone else to blame for the problems. Once people really understand what that means and how deep that could go, I think they're going to say we need to keep the status quo.
You talk about the status quo and the people want change, and that's the national mood. Yet, the candidate who is not really for change, although described as an agent of change by her supporters, may win the general election. What would the message be if Hillary Clinton wins? That the whole idea of America wanting change is overblown?
I don't think it's overblown. I think that we are divided, within ourselves. Part of us as individuals want more change. And then another part says, well, at the same time, we also want stability. Trump, to me, represents an ideology of domination and winning. And it's not really even about policies, about solutions. But I think he makes people feel good that they're winners and that they're going to dominate. They're going to be number one. And it's really that feeling that a lot of people crave. But that idea of domination doesn't really work in our democracy. Because it is, in the end, about compromises. It's about getting into the weeds about what actually works and doesn't work.
What about the fact that Bernie Sanders has said, you've got to vote for this woman, you've got to vote for this woman? Has that worked at all?
I think it's worked, certainly, with people like me. I feel like Bernie Sanders is still my road to a better future. I want him to be a powerful senator. I want him to be the chairman of the budget committee. I feel like I can trust him and work with him as an insider from the outside. So yeah, it works for me. But for a lot of people, they are so traumatized by the primary, and they want to punish the DNC for what happened during the primary, feeling like there was bias and rigging, and and how humiliating it was at the DNC itself. So they can't really muster up the energy to vote for Clinton, but I think many of them actually will once they're faced with the ballot. And not many of them have written to me saying, yeah, I ended up doing it. I mean, we're not just talking about somebody sitting in the White House, we're talking about the entire executive branch and 4,000 political appointments and all the federal agencies. The appointments that Trump would make frighten me. People like Giuliani might be attorney general, oil executives who might be in charge of handing out permits for whatever. I mean, it's mind-boggling how far it could go. I don't think our planet will survive a Trump administration, really, because he's not going to protect the planet. There's going to be no environmental regulation. We can't have that. We got to balance it with the need to protect the planet. And so they can't just think about, do I like Hillary? I'm so sick of people saying, do I like her? It doesn't matter. Do you trust the Democrats to be in charge of the executive branch, or do you trust the Republicans? And if you put it that way, most people will say, you know what, I trust the Democrats more, because some of these Republicans are too extreme. I feel like Clinton is somebody that is predictable, and we can put pressure on her. She responds to pressure. So even if we don't so-called trust her, and we don't agree on everything she stands for, we have a path to being represented. We know, because we have to organize, right? And as an organizer, as an activist, it's important to me that I know that I can continue. With Donald Trump, we don't have any idea exactly what he's going to do, what the mood will be, whether or not he's going to be very repressive towards dissenters and organizers, right? And just ordinary citizens who may say anything critical about him. He's vindictive. He is very thin-skinned. We have no idea what he's going to do. And that is an enormous risk to take for our country right now.
There are people who've observed this campaign who think that it's that feel more comfortable with Clinton and Clinton audiences because they don't react that way. That there's something almost sort of, it's so easy to say because so many have said it, but you think back to the 30s, the pre-war speeches in Europe, that a lot of them are like that. There's just a blind faith and an energy. Just no matter what the guy says, they're going to agree with it, and that's not the case with Clinton, which is almost reassuring. Do you see that at all?
She does sound reassuring to me because it's not an irrational emotional reaction. But if you're just kind of trying to get a handle on how to vote, yeah, I think it would be very appealing to have somebody say what he's saying. It's not your fault, it's someone else's fault, and I'm going to take care of you. Donald Trump is actually a very good storyteller. And he told a story about what was happening to our country that, even though to me is grossly inaccurate, and although he doesn't have the solutions, he presented a story that really resonated with people. I felt the entire audience with him every single moment, and it's very different from what they're hearing from Clinton and the Democrats. And I think that a lot of people feel like it's like gaslighting coming from the Democrats, pretending like things are good or good enough when they don't feel like it's good enough. So he has a kind of narrative advantage right now in this campaign, and that scares the crap out of me.